What's up, guys? It's the Odds Couple. I'm Sam.
I'm Taylor. I'm the small better.
I'm the degenerate.
All right, so today we are going to go over the games coming up starting this Sunday.
Yes, week 1 is here. Well, starting Thursday.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Starting Thursday.
Yep, week 1 is here.
Real official.
Football. Real
NFL
football.
is really here. All right, so for the first game, we have the Lions at the Chiefs -5.5, and the total sitting at 52.5. How you feeling about it?
Yeah, Chiefs giving 5.5. Kelsey, as we just heard today, hyperextended his knee in practice. They say his ACL is intact and there's no worries about a long-term injury, but he might miss a week or two. They're trying to wait to see if the swelling goes down in his knee, and I really don't see him turning around and playing on Thursday night. But we'll keep an eye on that, obviously, up until kickoff, but that's a big piece. I know it's a team sport and all that stuff, but that is their best receiver. It's their go-to guy. Without him, who are their pass catchers?
Yeah.
Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, we trust in these guys. It is Mahomes, so they're still probably going to have a chance of winning the game. I don't think I can lay 5.5 with that injury, and already some question marks in their receiving group. I think the Lions run the ball a lot with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. I think Gibbs is actually more involved in the passing game, and obviously Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be a focal point. Lions are up and coming. We saw it last year. Their defense is getting better. I think they at least cover the 5.5. They may not win outright. Chiefs are at home after, they're going to be celebrating their Super Bowl and all that good stuff, hanging the banners and whatnot. But, the 5.5, I don't know. I would take, as of right now, if Kelsey is out, I would lean Lions plus 5.5.
Okay. All right. Up next, we have the 49ers.
And by the way, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, the total, if I had to take it, would be the under, especially with Kelsey out. There's going to be some games where we're not really touching totals. I'll give, I guess, my opinion, but a lot of this,
I think you have to
totals,
wait till you get further in the season a little bit to start taking the totals. Just to see how they're playing.
Week 1 obviously is always kind of a crapshoot, but especially with the totals, it's just it's tough to gauge for a little while. But some of them I like, and we'll go over that.
I'm a totals better. You're more of a spread better.
Yes, you guys will learn that.
All right, up next we have the 49ers at the Steelers plus 2.5. The total sitting at 40.5.
Okay, Steelers getting 2.5 at home. I like the Steelers. Let's just get right to it. You have Nick Bosa, who's uncertain with his holdout for his contract. Steelers have Kenny Pickett in year 2, who looked great in preseason. I know it's preseason. You don't put a whole lot of stock in that. And obviously they're going up against the Niners defense, who's going to be tough even without Bosa, but that is a big loss. That's huge for their pass rush. And I think the Steelers have a hugely underrated D going into this year, a healthy TJ Watt. You have Brock Purdy coming off an injury. We haven't seen him since then. Last we saw them, Christian McCaffrey was throwing passes for him. So obviously they think he's healthy. They traded Trey Lance, so they're comfortable with him. But we'll see what he's like in a full season. And I just think on the road in Pittsburgh against TJ Watt and that defense, I think they're going to have trouble. I would take the 2.5 at home. And Steelers are they're another team this year that's like their win total, same kind of thing. Like they're getting underrated again. Mike Tomlin is just a phenomenal coach, maybe one of the best in the league. Definitely one of the best in the league. I would take them at home.
Okay.
As far as the total, 40.5, it's low, but I would still lean the under just because, again, 2 tough defenses. And then you got Pickett and Purdy, who neither of them have played a full year coming out. I would have to lean the under on that as well.
We'll see. All right, up next we have the Panthers at the Falcons -3.5. The total sitting at 39.5.
Falcons -3.5 against your boys' team, Luke Combs' team, the Panthers.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yep. So
I don't have his hoodie on tonight.
Oh darn! Next video. I'll be wearing jerseys. She's wearing Country Star hoodies. So I've got Falcons -3.5. I would, it's Frank Reich, obviously for the Panthers. I do like him, even though, it didn't end up so well with the Colts. I like him with the Panthers, but, rookie quarterback. Who'd they add? Miles Sanders, who I'm not a huge fan of, honestly. I think his numbers were inflated behind a great Eagles offensive line. They got Adam Thielen to help out the rookie quarterback and Bryce Young. But on the road in Atlanta against the Falcons team that is going to run the ball a lot and successfully. They've also obviously still have Kyle Pitts. They've got Drake London back for his second year. Desmond Ridder is obviously unproven, but their running game is going to be so good to help them out. And then on the flip side, their defense, while it's not great, I do like their secondary at home, giving the 3.5. Again, Bijan Robinson is probably going to run a lot. Tyler Algier will probably see the field in a lot of the running game as well. Frank Reich is also 0-4-1 in Week 1 games as a head coach. So they might be without Brian Burns, who had, I think, like 7 or 12.5 sacks for them last year, something like that. And he might sit because of contract situation. They lost DJ Moore. I think it's a spot I got to take the Falcons.
All right. Up next, we have our home team, the Texans at the Ravens, -10, and the total sitting at 43.5.
Yeah, so it's another one where I'm not a huge fan of the total, just because I think even without Marlon Humphrey, who is going to be out, that's going to be a big loss for when they play like the Bengals or something. I don't think they're going to miss him a whole lot against a rookie quarterback and C.J. Stroud and the Texans. Rookie head coach as well. I think DeMeco Ryans will be good for their defense, but not in this game. Ravens are 11-4 straight up and against the spread under John Harbaugh in Week 1 games. They outscored their opponents by 206 points, and it's just, I think it's a prime spot. The Ravens just honestly stomp them out. If I'm being real, and you'll see throughout the year, I'm usually against the Ravens a lot. When people are on them, they do play down to their opponents a lot, and they play up to their competition. So they're a strange team in that sense. But I think in this case, they're going to come out. They're going to get their new weapons involved. Todd Monken is going to spread them out, play fast, get them in and out of the huddle, and they could easily cover this 10 points. Yeah. I think it's a blowout at home.
I will say I don't feel as though you are a biased bettor when it comes to the home team.
I am absolutely not, and they will learn that.
We wear their jerseys, but we are realistic about how we play.
Hey, I'm a fan. I'll say I'm a fan, and obviously the shield behind us tells you. But as I've gotten older, I'm a fan of who I'm betting on that week. You know what I mean? 100%. So, and I bet against the Ravens probably more than I bet on them, I would say, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. We have the Bengals at the Browns. +2.5. The total sitting at 47.5.
Yeah, Browns getting 2.5 at home. Burrow is winless in Cleveland, and he's 1-4 against them
winless.
Total. Yeah, he won their last game. That was in Cincinnati. They're in Cleveland again. The one thing that has me bothered really about, because when it first, I first saw the matchup, a month ago or whatever. That's all I thought about was, hey, Burrow's winless against Cleveland. It could be another matchup. Maybe even take a money line on Cleveland. Denzel Ward's out with his 4th concussion, and they're trying to talk him into retirement and all that stuff. I think that is a big loss for their secondary, trying to handle T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. And while they sacked Burrow a bunch, Cincinnati did improve their offensive line. We'll see if they did. They said that last year too, and it didn't hold up so well. But I do think Cincinnati goes in there. I think Jamar Chase has a good game, especially without Denzel Ward. And I think they cover that 2.5. Deshaun Watson, he's got to prove it to me before I can bet anything on the Browns. He looked so bad last year, and obviously he should bounce back at least a little bit. But
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, reports in training camp were not good. And again, it's like preseason. You take it with a grain of salt. But coming off of the year he had last year, I think that's significant. I have to go Cincy by a field goal. Yeah.
Makes sense. Next up, we have the Buccaneers at the Vikings, -6. The total sitting at 45.5.
Yeah. So I like the Bucs on the road. Obviously the quarterback changed from Brady to Baker Mayfield. But Brady was at times a liability last year.
Yes.
And I get it; he's the greatest to do it. But last year, he was throwing the ball so quick to just not get hit.
Yeah.
He was not standing in, taking hits, trying to get the ball downfield to these guys. They still have Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Rachaad White. We like all 3 of them really in fantasy. And the Vikings have such a bad defense. They did nothing to help it. They were terrible last year. And all they did was get rid of Zadarius Smith. And, obviously they got rid of, Adam Thielen. They got Jefferson still there. They got rid of Dalvin Cook. So it's Alexander Madison now their starter. And they got Jordan Addison, who we like for fantasy.
Yeah.
That said, I think the Bucks can stay within 6. I think that it's going to be a high-scoring game, so I also like the over of 45.5. The Bucks still have a good front 7. I think that it definitely keeps them in the game. But obviously, Justin Jefferson probably will have a good game. The Vikings will put up some points, but I think the Bucks hang right there with them. So yeah, I'm definitely taking that 6 and the over of 45.5.
It's a high over.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Vikings play high-scoring games. Their defense is bad, and they have a good offense. They can score quickly. So,
All right.
and I think Mayfield is a little bit, being a little bit underrated this year. It's not to say I like him by any means, but to say it's that big of a drop-off from a Tom Brady who was pretty washed last year,
might be like level out.
I think they're going a little too hard with the Baker. Hey, I think the guy can at least get the ball into Mike Evans and Chris Godwin's hands.
Yeah. Or is it the gloves?
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
That's going to be like the tagline of every episode, isn't it?
It's all in
We'll
the
tell them the
gloves.
backstory of that one day.
All right, up next we have the Cardinals at the Commanders, -7, the total sitting at 38.5.
Yes. It's an ugly one. I mean, Josh Dobbs starting for a Cardinals team who've pretty much just sold off everybody. They're like the Angels in baseball, just getting rid of their whole team, just giving up. Yeah, I mean, if you have to go Washington -7. I feel like I wish Terry McLaurin was a sure thing to play because then I would really like it. But, I mean, even without him, they hopefully will have a decent running game with Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, that duo in the backfield. I think Gibson sees a lot of targets, especially with McLaurin out. Jahan Dotson I really love. We'll get to that in our Stardom Sit 'em column for fantasy. Stay tuned. But, yeah, I mean, Josh Dobbs throwing to guys like Marquise Brown and then James Conner trying to run the ball against a stellar defensive line and with Washington. Even with Chase Young apparently going to be out with a stinger still, their D-line is elite, and I can't go against them at home against a Cardinals team who pretty much will have nothing to play for most of the year. I'll lay the touchdown.
Well, Commanders beat us, so in preseason.
Yes, congrats on your Super Bowl, Washington fans.
Okay, if you had to take over/under, which one are you leaning towards?
Oof, that's another one. It's so low, but when it's like that, it usually stays under.
We won't quote you.
Gosh, yeah, I would stay away from it if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But if I've got to take it, I mean, I feel like I would have to go over.
Okay.
I don't love it. I would choose over.
That's what we call a no-touch bet. We don't touch those.
Yeah, no, I would not touch that line.
Those are imaginary bets.
Get back to me when we update our picks on maybe Saturday, closer, and we see if McLaurin's playing. Because I feel like Washington's going to have to come up with a lot of these points themselves.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. We have the Titans at the Saints, -3, the total sitting at 41.5.
Yeah, so Saints giving 3. They're at home. Saints allowed over 200 yards rushing last year to the Falcons in week 1. That's what the Titans are going to really rely on. Derrick Henry again. Obviously, they got DeAndre Hopkins. I think they have a bounce-back year. We talked about how I like their win total this year. And, I mean, the Titans are kind of the opposite. Last year, their run D was fantastic. They allowed 76 yards a game. And they're facing off against Jamal Williams and Kendre Miller because, obviously, Kamara's out for the first few weeks. Yeah, I'm not trusting Derek Carr against an underrated Vikings D with Mike Vrabel, who I like as a coach as well. I'll take the 3 on the road with the new-look Titans, or at least adding Hopkins. I don't know if they're going to be really new look. They're going to run with Derrick Henry still a lot, I think. But, yeah, I would take that. If you're asking me for a total, I would lean under because I think – the Titans are going to try and run the ball a lot, which obviously the clock's going to be moving, but I don't know that either team is really going to light it up.
Yeah.
I don't trust Derek Carr. So honestly, I would probably Titans are a team I'm looking at on money line as well to win the game outright.
Okay. All right, let's look at the Jaguars at the Colts, +4.5, the total sitting at 45.5.
Yeah, so Jags laying the points on the road. This is probably my favorite bet of the week. I've pretty much been hammering this one for several weeks. I mean, I think it started at 2.5 when I'd gotten it, and then it's obviously jumped up to
Keeps
4.5
going up.
now, and I would still take it. Jags will probably win this game by double digits. They'll win by at least a touchdown. Obviously Anthony Richardson, the rookie starting quarterback. Yeah, he might be okay for fantasy because he's gonna run the ball a lot, but I mean, I'm not trusting that guy throwing the ball. The Jags are gonna have a stellar offense this year. Trevor Lawrence is only getting better. They obviously added Calvin Ridley. They first matchup against the Colts last year, they won 24-0. They did lose the second matchup 34-27. Matt Ryan threw for 389 and 3 touchdowns in that game though. I don't think Anthony Richardson is going to be doing that. There's also no Jonathan Taylor for the first 4 weeks. So who knows who's going to get the most of their running back touches. Yeah, I'm all over the Jags in this game.
What's going on with Jonathan Taylor?
Well, the whole contract situation, they're trying to pretend he has an injury, but he's obviously he didn't get his deal that he wanted. He's on the PUP list for the first 4 weeks, so no Jonathan Taylor.
Trevor Lawrence is the Morgan Wallen lookalike?
No, that's Kenny Pickett.
Oh,
Trevor Lawrence is Trevor Lawrence is the lady lookalike.
Oh, the long hair.
Yes.
Long hair.
Yeah,
okay,
they
okay.
show a picture of some girl all the time, and
Okay.
they're like doppelgangers.
I will get it right one day.
Yeah.
All right, up next we have the Rams at the Seahawks -5.5. The total sitting at 45.5.
Yeah. So Rams on the road, obviously in Seattle, getting 5.5. So the last 12 matchups between these two. So the Seahawks won by 11 in 2020. Okay, and that's the only time they've won by 6 or more, which is what they would need to do to cover this spread.
Okay.
In the last 12 games that they've played. These teams know each other well. It's a division matchup, obviously. Usually divisional matchups mean closer games. They went to overtime in their last matchup last year with no Kupp and Baker Mayfield as their quarterback. So obviously Cooper Kupp is probably going to be out. Again, keep an eye on that for fantasy purposes. But he's going to be out. But, I mean, you have Matt Stafford back. He's obviously, if he's healthy, like they say, he's an upgrade over Baker Mayfield. So there's really no reason that they can't keep it close again. I would think. I would probably lean under if I had to take the total as well. I could see like a 24-20 game, which would keep it under that 45.5. So again, it's a close one. I told you I'll be more definitive later in the year. At least give me a week or two to see how they play before I take totals. But yeah, I mean, I would take the Rams with the points in a divisional matchup. Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have the Eagles at the Patriots +3.5. The total sitting at 45.
Yeah, Eagles giving 3.5 on the road in Foxborough against Bill Belichick. So that in itself is already I'm already a little leery of laying the points for that reason. But Eagles were also 16th in the run game last year, which is what I'm looking at because I think the Patriots are going to try and run the ball a lot. Ramondre Stevenson. I don't think Ezekiel Elliott adds a whole ton, but Stevenson's going to be a beast again this year. I think they lean heavily on the run and throwing to the tight ends in this matchup. Jaceki and Hunter Henry there obviously still. They have a new defensive coordinator on Philly. So just kind of gelling with a new defensive coordinator and 5 new starters on defense. I think they're going to take a little bit of a step back this year is what I'm predicting for the Eagles. I know everyone, it's kind of their Super Bowl favorite again. I think at least it's going to take them a few weeks to really get into a role again like that. On the road against a Bill Belichick team again that typically has a good defense, I would take the 3.5 at home with the Patriots.
And if you had to lean towards a total,
I would go under the 45.
Okay.
Again, I see a lot of running the football. And I see them kind of keeping Jalen Hurts in check a little bit.
All right. Let's move on. We have the Raiders at the Broncos -4. The total sitting at 44.
Yeah, so Josh McDaniels against his old team. By the way, he sucks. Can't stand Josh McDaniels. I think he's a terrible head coach. Yeah, sorry. With that said, I'm going to pick the Raiders. Spoiler alert. And it's strictly because, I mean, the Raiders have a bad D. They're just a disaster. Chandler Jones now apparently is going to be – he's tweeting out all this stuff and deleting tweets about how much he hates the Raiders.
Why do people do that? Why do you tweet something and then delete it?
Yeah, that's another conversation. But Yeah, they're a disaster. I mean, the whole Josh Jacobs scenario, yeah, he's back. So that's good for them. They kind of pissed off Devontae Adams by not, getting him involved in the quarterback search. And McDaniel's obviously he's just bad. I don't like him. Anyway, let me tell you why I'm taking the Raiders. Last year, Jacobs and Devontae Adams in both games against Denver both went over 100 yards each. Jimmy Garoppolo is now their new quarterback, which the Broncos did hold him last year. He was pretty bad in Denver. They beat him 11-10 in an ugly game. But that said, no Jerry Jeudy for a Broncos team that has Sean Payton now. I think their offense will be better. But with their running back situation, who knows how healthy Javonte Williams is or how many, is he on a snap count? I'm not a huge Samaje Perine fan. I think Jacobs and, even Jimmy G, he's capable of getting a number one wide receiver the ball. I think Adams and Jacobs could have good days again, and I think they'll at least stay within the 4 and could potentially go into Denver and beat them. I think it's, again, a divisional game.
Yeah.
I think it's close. I would take the 4 on the road.
Okay, and a total? What do you have for me?
Total, if pressed, I would lean over.
I handed you $5 and said take a total. What would you put it on?
This is just another stay away from me. You know what? I would lean over.
Okay.
And I don't really have a rhyme or reason because
just a gut feeling.
My head is all I keep thinking about is Jimmy G in that game that everyone thought the Niners would just stomp them out and they just shut him down. But it's a whole new offense and all that, so you can't really go off of that. I don't know. I don't even want to tell. I mean, I said over, and now I'm going back toward under. I don't know. It's a stay away. It's a stay away completely.
It's one of those imaginary bets.
Yeah, I just wouldn't take it.
All right, let's move on. We have the Packers at the Bears, -1.5. Total sitting at 43.5.
Yeah, so Bears -1.5 at home. Rodgers did own the Bears. He was right when he said that. Guess what? Aaron Rodgers is not there anymore. The Bears are going to be better than they were last year. I think they're a little overhyped, if I'm being honest.
Why?
Well, because they got blown out in so many games last year, and people are taking them for the division and whatnot. I would pump the brakes a little bit on the excitement. I know that division's pretty bad, but I do think they are going to be better. They did get better on defense, which is my main concern with them. I know the big focus is Justin Fields, and they got DJ Moore and whatnot. I think them getting the defense better is the key here. They added TJ Edwards, Tremaine Edmonds. They added DJ Moore, like I said. So I do think the Bears cover 1.5 at home. I don't trust Jordan Love. He's going to have to show me a few good games before I really start trusting him. But yeah, that improved linebacker core alone, I think, is going to help them. And I don't see the Packers stopping the run a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever's starting for the Bears, I'd focus on in either prop bets or fantasy, and then obviously Justin Fields could run wild as well. So DJ Moore, I'm kind of getting into our start sit 'em column, so I gotta chill out there. But DJ Moore will be an interesting matchup if he's shadowed by Jair Alexander. But as far as the game purposes, I think the Bears cover the 1.5 at home.
And a total?
Total,
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, you keep throwing these at me, and I'm not a huge fan of them. But I'd have to go over.
Okay.
If I had to take it. We'll see if the Bears defense is really that improved.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's as bad as it was last year and how I think their offense is going to take a step forward, I would probably lean over for 43.5.
All right. Let's move on. We have the Dolphins at the Chargers, -3. The total sitting at 50.5.
Yeah, so new offensive coordinator for the Chargers. Obviously, they got Bosa, Khalil Mack coming back, and, Derwin James there. I think their defense should be better. I don't know if J.C. Jackson's playing. He was playing in the preseason and whatnot, but there's they just keep saying no timetable yet for his return. Hopefully he comes back and is, half the cornerback he was before. Chargers won by 6 last time they met in December. And I'd lay the 3 with them again this year. I think Kellen Moore is going to be really good for them. Hopefully they click sooner, obviously for the sake of this bet. But they drafted Quentin Johnston. They got Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, who are obviously healthy with it being game 1. Austin Eckler there. The Dolphins, we'll see. I like them this year on offense. We'll see how they work in the secondary without Jalen Ramsey. And, assuming Tua can stay healthy and whatnot. But for week 1, I'm taking Chargers to, again, cover that 3 just like they did in December at home.
Okay. And if you had to pick a total?
I'd stay under for this one.
It's a high over-under, honestly.
It might be it's one of the highest ones of the week.
I don't know. I was just thinking about that. It might be.
I don't remember many more going
actually,
50
the
except
Lions
the
at
Chiefs.
the Chiefs.
Yep, Chiefs,
that one's high. All right, next up we have the Cowboys at the Giants, plus 3.5. The total sitting at 46.5.
Yeah, so obviously divisional matchup again. I do like what the Giants are doing with Brian Daboll in that offense. They got Darren Waller, but I'm just really high on the Cowboys, mostly because their defense this year. They added Stephon Gilmore. I think that secondary is going to be pretty stout. Obviously, they still have the pass rush with Michael Parsons alone, really. And then they added Brandon Cooks on the offensive side of the ball. They got rid of Zeke, which was addition by subtraction, if you ask me. Tony Pollard is way more explosive and whatnot. Hopefully holds up over a full year of a full workload. But, they beat them by 7 and 8, I believe, last year in both their matchups. I think they cover the 3.5, even though it's on the road. I'm high on the Cowboys this year, and I don't see even, with Darren Waller, who are they going to throw the ball to, really, against this secondary? I would I'd have to lay the points with the Cowboys.
And if you had to take a total, over under?
I would stay under.
Yeah.
Cowboys on the road. And again, I don't see where the points are coming from with the Giants. Saquon would have to have a good game. Maybe Daniel Jones running the ball. But yeah, I'd have to divisional matchup again. They know each other so well. I would stay under the 46.5.
Yeah. All right, next up, last but not least, we have the Bills at the Jets, plus 2.5, total sitting at 46.5.
Yeah, so I like this one as well. I like the Jets at home getting the 2.5. They obviously played them tough last year. The Jets were a quarterback away from the playoffs. Well, they got a quarterback. Last year they beat them 20-17, and then lost to them 20-12. In the win, they had Zach Wilson at quarterback. In the loss, they had Mike White. Both games, defense played well. Josh Allen was picked twice in the first game, and then held to 147 yards in the air in the second game. Put in Aaron Rodgers in those games, and the Jets, I think, win easily. And I think that's going to happen at home. I would take, the money line. I would take the Jets to win outright at home. The Bills have Diggs. They got, obviously, Allen will still, put up his share of stats and whatnot. But I just think if Sauce Gardner can hold down Diggs and force them to try and go through like Gabe Davis, Dalton Kincaid, or even running the ball, I don't see the Bills putting up a lot of points against them. Yeah. And I could see, Rodgers making a huge difference, obviously. I would take the under as well. It's 46.5. I don't see a lot of points, just like last year. Neither game was close to that. And yeah, the Jets have a good front seven. They obviously got 2 Rookie of the Years, offensive and defensive side of the ball. I'm big on the Jets this year. Is basically what I'm saying.
You really are.
Yeah, I'm rambling on, but I'm big on the Jets. I would take them at home. There you go. On 9/11, by the way, in New York.
Oh wow.
So.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's gonna be a pretty cool game to watch. But yeah, I know you kind of pump the brakes on teams that are really overhyped, and the Jets are. But Aaron Rodgers he's 37 years old or whatever. Yeah. I mean, he's a veteran. It's not going to be like this hype gets to him or something like that.
I agree. It'll be an interesting game. And that wraps it up. We don't
That
have
wraps
any
it
games
up. All right.
left.
All right. So that's who we like week 1. Obviously, these could change throughout the week. If they do, and or when they do, because there'll be different things that happen. Keep an eye on some of these injuries. We will update you as much as we can. Obviously, follow, like, share, all that good stuff on here. But we also are getting our Instagram account
Yep.
up and running.
Yep.
So follow us over there. It's The Odds Couple. There is spaces in between the words.
Yep.
Somebody took our name. So it's technically the_odds_couple. But yeah, follow us over there because we can get out stuff quicker. And I feel like we probably will. Again, we're still managing to get some stuff out on there, but we'll probably be able to, like, if something changes on Saturday or whatever, we can hurry up and
post
kind of
something quickly.
Yeah, put out a little short
Yeah.
video, and then even like communicating with us if you want some advice or whatever, or you have some questions or just want some friendly debate. We'd love that. Definitely hit us up on there.
Tell us what you do and don't like, what you do and don't agree with.
Yeah, comment I'll tell you what, in the comments below, give me your 3 favorite picks. At least one. Give us at least one.
At 16 games, you got to have at least one.
Yeah. So, all right. So, who was your favorite this week?
Well, I'm just going to go with the Ravens because I usually watch that game the most.
Oh, okay.
So.
My favorite pick of the week would be the Jags -4.5.
Why? Like the easiest bet?
So if you go in the video and rewind it, you'll find out why. No, but
tell us again.
Yeah, no, I mean rookie quarterback, all that stuff. Yeah, I think they smoked them in Indy. But do you agree? Do you disagree? Is it a trap game? Let me know in the comments below. Let us know your top pick, and yeah, we'll see you guys on the next one.
See you on the next one.
See you guys.